Is it really worth it to go to college? Now, many young people have asked me, is it worth going to college? There are many different things that college can benefit you with, and of course, a prestigious university that can always create a great start for your career. However, it's not necessary in today's day and age to be successful, to have money, and of course, everybody has a different definition of success anyway. So even if you did go to university and you passed all your exams, you were a straight A student, you still might not see that as success. That might get you a job maybe as a doctor or a lawyer or something like that, but maybe that's not your definition of success. So really, are you successful, or are you just fitting the mold of somebody else's success or somebody else's image of success? Let's take a deep dive and see some of the pros and cons of going to college. I'm just going to be speaking from personal experience, and I had a bit of a non-traditional college experience. So just to kind of caveat things, I was taking night classes instead of going the traditional route and spending my entire day in classes and stuff like that. So I had a bit of a limited experience when it comes to actual on-campus life. However, I did still go through all the learning and all the material and all that stuff, and I graduated just like everybody else. So during that time, I decided to spend my days working, so I had a job, and then in the evening, I was attending classes. So I got to do both. I was making money and also learning at the same time. So I got the education, I got the college experience per se, but I didn't have that full on-campus lifestyle that many college students have. So my opinion of college is that the information that I learned is not necessarily something that I need for my day-to-day business operation. And so I have my bachelor's in business, I have my master's degree, finishing up my PhD right now in organizational leadership, but a lot of the things that I've learned was just purely theoretical. And so when you go to university or you go to college, you know that you are learning things or the theories of things that you may need in the future. So it's very difficult to predict what exactly you're going to need. So they basically teach you everything. And they're teaching you all these different theories and who invented them and who first popularized them and what it actually means and how you could apply it, maybe even a couple case studies. So it's important to understand how that information works and how that information is relevant, but the likelihood of you actually using it in business is not actually that high. And so while it looks cool to have an MBA at the end of your name as part of your title or a PhD, it's not actually that necessary if you want to be an entrepreneur or a business owner. In fact, many of the most successful entrepreneurs and business owners in the world do not have any college degree. Some of them dropped out of college, and that has to do most likely with the personality of these people, where they never really had the ability to work under somebody else's authority, like a professor or something like that. And so they just didn't do well, they didn't listen, they didn't pay attention, it was not interesting to them, and instead their mind was coming up with new ideas and inventions and business plans and all that stuff, where the people who got all the theory right and all the paperwork and all the little details, they're probably not even doing business yet, because they're overthinking it, they're overcomplicating things, they're overanalyzing things. And so you have kind of this disconnect where it seems like all the successful business people should be going to university and getting straight A's, and then they go into business and they start a company and do all that. But actually, a lot of times it's the opposite, right? The people who are getting the straight A's, the people who are doing well in school, end up going to a job. And they work maybe at a large corporation, which is fine, right? If that's your definition of success, then that's totally fine. But if your goal is to start a business and you want to make $1 million a month from your business, you probably don't need a college education at all. You could probably just skip all of that. However, I will say that one of the biggest benefits that I learned in my time in college and university is that I learned how to think and solve problems with different frames of thought. And here's what I mean by that. If you think about all your core classes, one of the biggest things is that every discipline or every topic has its own challenges or issues or problems that they need to solve. So for example, the most simple example is if you're in a math class, you see that there are math problems and there's math questions. And so the way you solve math problems is in a mathematical way, right? And then maybe you have a history class and you start thinking about all these historical situations and the challenges that they faced and all these different things. And these problems are solved in the historical frame, right? So you start solving problems mathematically, you start solving problems in a history, you start solving problems from a scientific perspective. So you have all these different topics. And so it causes you to think with all these different frames of mind. So now when you go out into the real world, not every problem that you're going to face is going to be mathematical. Not everyone is going to be scientific. Not everyone is going to be historical, right? And so when you're going into these actual real world situations, you have some problem solving strategies to pull from, and you can use that information to help you navigate the real world. So that was a real benefit that I experienced. Besides that, I'd say another huge benefit is the network that you build. A lot of these people that are going to university, they are professionals, they want to be working at maybe a corporation, or they want to start a business. And so a lot of these people are good people to have in your network. And I'm a huge fan of networking no matter where it is. So it was just another opportunity for me to meet like-minded individuals and people who I believe are going to be professionals and people who are going to be successful. And so for me, it actually built a very valuable network for me. So that was another huge benefit. And then you also get to network with the professors. So that was actually a kind of a side benefit that I didn't expect at all. But some of the professors that were teaching us were business owners and people who were successful. And so they were just teaching on the side because they wanted a hobby, right? But these people actually had a very large amount of information that you could learn from. And because they're your professor, they're usually pretty open to mentoring and coaching and stuff like that. Now, of course, I'm sure every university is different. That's just my personal experience at my university. Some of the downsides of going to university is that it is expensive, right? You're paying tens of thousands of dollars to go to a university. The second aspect that I didn't really like about it is that it takes a lot of time and there's a lot of busy work, right? There are certain amounts of work that has to be done in order for a university to have an accreditation, right? And so these are course hours. And so these course hours, they're spent in class. So you have to be sitting in class, you have to spend time on homework, and a lot of it was work that never really helped me in the long run. So I know for a fact I've wasted hundreds of hours doing homework assignments that never benefited me in the long run. So that's kind of the downfall of it. So it's expensive, takes a lot of time. However, it is a good idea to learn how to problem solve with all these different frames of mind. And again, building that network is very, very valuable. If you see your version of success as getting a corporate job, then I'd say going to college is probably pretty necessary because they're going to want to see some sort of degree and some sort of graduation that happened. But if you're planning to be a business owner, it's not necessary at all. And actually, you could skip that whole process and go into business. So it's not necessarily tied to your business performance. However, just know that you are going to be missing out on some of the networking and some of the problem-solving opportunities that you get to practice at university, and then potentially apply to real-world situations in your business. Alrighty, guys, these are the pros and cons of going to a college or a university. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next video.